Alright, we've got our first coat of primer on, and you're going to always find defects when you primer. So looking at this, get an angle where maybe the shadows will show it. Let's see, yeah, you can see it right there. We've got a little bit of fuzz right there from where I sanded it, and I got the paper just a teensy bit, and that made it fuzz up. There's some defects along the body tube where we've got let's see if I can find one here. Got a little blemish right there where it's a dot of paint. I've got a ripple over here. Got another little dot. Just some blemishes in the paint and where the paper fuzzed up. This is actually right here is where the seam between the lower fin can and the upper body tube meet. And because I sanded where the filler was, I did get the paper and fuzzed it up a little bit. Well, it's not a big deal. You can see right there on the body tube fuzz, and you can see right there on the fin fuzz. We got 320 sandpaper, and we're just going to lightly hit where the fuzz is with the sandpaper. Fold this over, and we're just going to lightly go over the blemishes where we see them. And voila, the blemish is gone now. That's why we did our primer coat. And I did 2 coats of primer before I do any sanding. So now I can go through and I can spot these defects, and I can concentrate on the defects first. Boom. That defect is gone now. So you can't see any fuzz at all. So I'm going to go over the entire rocket body looking for these little defects, and I'm going to sand them. Then once I've done that, I'm going to switch up to a brand new piece of paper, sandpaper with no fold in it, just a regular square. I can wrap that around the body with my hand, and I can lightly sand and basically scratch this coat of paint. Some more defects right here. I can scratch this coat of paint so that I can turn around and put on another 2 coats of primer. And that's going to give me the smoother finish that I want. After that 2 coats, I'll turn around and I'll grab some wet dry 4 or 5 or 1,000 grit sandpaper. Just your normal wet dry sandpaper. And I'll take that and I'll sand the body tube with that and just a little bit of water. Remember, there is paper under there, so you got to be careful. And that'll give me my best, smoothest coat ready for application of the paint. Still not quite sure if I'm going to go with the silver nose cone and body tube adapter to a white body, or if I'm going to go with a different color on the body. I don't always go with the Estes colors, but we're thinking about it and going to look at it and decide what we might do. If I've got enough pearl white, I might do a pearl white body and do the gray or silver nose cone. So we're going to go sand and get another coat of primer on here, and we'll show you what the final results look like. All right, we've got the painting done. We've glued the adapter to the payload tube. I actually sanded the payload tube. I'm going to take and polish it. Basically, you just sand it with really, really fine sandpaper, and then you can buff it and it'll polish up nice and crystal clear. Or you can do clear coat, which is probably what I'm going to do, is just clear coat it. And that way I'm clear coating the whole rocket at once. I don't have to remask this. And it'll make it look a little bit clearer than it did. We've got it all set and ready to go. We've got about 4 or 5 coats of white paint on our lower section, the body tube with fin can. And you can see really nice, really smooth paint job. So we filled in those spirals, and you can't find a spiral anywhere on this body tube. You think it's plastic or metal, which is the exact desire we want. I could have done epoxy clay around the launch lugs. That would have been just for appearance and a little bit for aerodynamics, but I wasn't too concerned with that. The fins, you can see they came out really nice. They're sturdy. They've got a lot of oomph to them. The fillets, you can see just how well those fillets look because of the epoxy clay. I love that fixed epoxy clay. It's easy to sand. Just remember it is temperature sensitive, so don't try and use it if it's super cold or super hot. Now we did use Kevlar for our cord, so we're going to set up our parachute next. So I'm going to pull the cord and put it off to the side here. What I've already done to the parachute is I did set the parachute up. I do cut the hole out of most of my parachutes for my rockets because that helps the rocket descend straighter and faster and not drift as far away on the wind. Now, for setting this parachute up, most parachutes come pre-strung from Estes, and 99% of the time they come strung what I consider the right way. And that is, instead of going from corner to corner with the string, from this corner to this corner, it's going to go from this corner to this corner, and then this corner to this corner. You have the lines coming up, they can twist and tangle. Instead, you want this corner to this corner, and then your middle corners to each other, and then the other side. So you're going side, middle, side. And what that does is it leaves you a loop this way, a loop this way, and a loop this way. You're going to take the loops, and you're going to put them over your finger, put it over your finger, and put it over your finger, bunch them up, and then even out all your ends below. Once you've done that, you're going to pull your string tight so that you have all your ends matched up and tight. And once they're all matched up and tight, you're going to come to the other end where you've got that loop over your finger, and you're going to take and tie a knot in the loop. Now you've set it up so that you can always untangle your strings just by clipping your parachute off, putting your fingers inside the shroud lines, and just running your fingers down the shroud lines, and that will untangle your lines. And I put a clip on so I can easily remove from the shock cord. And this is just a little fishing clip. I will wrap tape around this fishing clip because it does have a snaggy edge, as I like to call it. Anytime I have something that can snag, I cover it with tape so that it doesn't become a snag issue inside the body tube. Remember, we used Kevlar for our shock cord, so we went 4 to 5 times the body length. We're going to attach it with a simple square knot to our upper nose cone. So you make your square knot. Now, to make sure you have the tab long enough, decide how long you want your tab, and then hold it against, let me zoom in here for you, hold it against the screw eye at the length you want it. So I've set it about that long. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to pull the other end. So now I'm pulling the slack out of the other end. So that's how long my tab's going to be now. So now I'm going to tie my other end. I'm just going to go around and make my standard square knot. End's a little frayed, so it kind of makes it hard. Now we've got our square knot tied. Pull it tight. I'm going to take a piece of tape, and I'm going to tape that end to itself. So now, no matter what happens, it's not going to untie. We're going to go down about 1/3 the length at max, and I actually know how long it's supposed to be down the line. But we're going to go down from the nose cone side, or the payload side. We're going to go down about a third of the length. A little bit more, right about there. And that's where we're going to tie another loop. So this loop doesn't have to be big. All we're going to stick in this loop is our clip for our parachute. So now I've given myself the means and ability to switch out my parachute easily. And the instructions say clip it on the screw eye. You can do that, but what happens a lot of times is it's clipped to the screw eye, and when it ejects, it'll come out and it'll snag and bounce back and hook through the shroud lines, or somehow snag up and tangle up inside the shroud lines. You'll end up with the nose cone going through the shroud lines or tangling up. This way, the nose cone is completely clear of the rocket, and then it drags out the parachute, and the parachute follows out behind, and then the rest of the shroud shock cord, and you end up with less tangle issues. Folding my parachute, I fold it the same way when I store it or launch it. Remember, when you get ready to launch your rocket, wake up your parachute. That means pull it out of the rocket, open it all the way up, make sure all your shroud lines are untangled. Run it through the air back and forth a little time like a kid would. You know, ooh, look at the parachute, look at the parachute. Go ahead and make that parachute open up. That's called waking up your parachute, especially if it's cool to cold outside. That's going to make sure you get a deployment of your chute. I've been to cool weather launches where everybody's parachutes don't open up because they didn't wake up the rocket. All right, so we've gotten our parachute. We woke up the parachute. We've made sure our shroud lines are untangled. We're going to lay it out flat. We're going to match up our eyelets, and then we're going to fold it over. We're going to fold it over again. And now I'm going to fold it in half. So I fold the triangle down, making sure my shroud lines, see how the shroud lines, there's no excess in them. That's why you fold that way. Now I'm just going to kind of fold once and then roll in. Then I'm going to fold once to the halfway point and roll in. Now that it's all nice and tight like this, take the shroud lines, pull them over your from the bottom to the top, wrap it around. And you can see I don't have a lot of excess in here like you get sometimes. We're going to wrap it all the way around, not pulling super tight or anything, and we're going to make sure that that clip is right there at the end. Then, if you've seen in my other tutorials, you're going to take and you're going to daisy chain, take a rubber band or something and put it around your parachute just like it is so that it doesn't come undone. And you're going to daisy chain your shock cord. Now you'd normally do this with a crochet needle and it makes much smaller loops. And you're just going to sit there and daisy chain it. The reason for daisy chaining is it's going to make it a small chain like a necklace chain, and it's easier to tuck that into the rocket, and when it deploys the ejection charge, it unwraps itself. So you're going to do that, or however you want to prepare it. I know some people, they'll sit there and they'll fold it over itself, and then they'll put a piece of paper around it and stuff it in. There's all sorts of ways to do it. Some people will use tape. Just remember, whatever it is, it has to be able to be ripped apart by the force of the ejection charge. Otherwise, your rocket's going to come in a little bit harder than you want. All right, for speed's sake, I'm just going to bundle this up in my hand and kind of tuck it into the rocket. And again, you can use a rubber band instead of the big clamp. The clamp just happens to be on the workbench, so it made it real easy for me to grab it. All right, so now we've got our parachute. We've got our shroud lines wrapped around the parachute. Some people say stick it in base first so it doesn't open up as it's coming out. That's why you wrap the shroud line. So I'm going to stick it in top first, opening to the mouth. And that's actually going to help me push the extra cord down into the body tube. Now you've already put your wadding in. Remember, you got to have the wadding. And then this little bit we're going to tuck into the top loosely. And remember, again, we're taping that tab to the loose end to the rest of the shroud or shock cord so it does not come loose. And then we're going to test our fit, make sure that it's not too loose of a fit, it's a nice tight fit, but not so tight that it's not going to deploy. And we've got our rocket ready for decals. Again, we're going to wait about 48 to 72 hours before we put the decals on. We want all the VOCs to vent off and off gas off the paint before we do that. Otherwise, we're going to have bad decal issues. And then we're going to wait another 72 hours before we clear coat to ensure that all the waters have off gassed and evaporated from the decal and underneath the decal. Otherwise, you'll get that wrinkle effect, and we don't want to have that. So while it's off gassing, you want to keep it at a stable temperature. So this is going to come out of the shop and go inside where it's nice and warm, and be able to off gas for the next 3 or 4 days. And then I'll go ahead and decal it. And after I decal it, we'll clear coat it, and we'll send it up for its maiden voyage. The first nice day we have after that. Being Washington State, we get a lot of rain. It's kind of sunny out today, which is nice. Almost no wind, but not in a position to go launch today. So we'll finish this up when we get the decals on.